Tonight, George Williams, who has been incarcerated for the last 48 years, was today brought before the court for the first time since being arrested.
When he came into the courtroom for the first time in 48 years, had a look of bewilderment on his face.
Minister of Local Government and Community Development calls for the suspension of several municipal officers after they were seen on a viral video using sledgehammers to destroy food and other items belonging to several vendors. Still tonight, NWC advises that the Long Mountain Deepwell facility in St. Andrew will be out of service for 8 days to facilitate the extraction and repair of the pumping unit. And MICAF has developed a national 5-year manufacturing growth strategy for Jamaica aimed at achieving $81 billion per annum in manufacturing output by 2025.
Good evening. In breaking news tonight, Jamaica has recorded 12 new COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours, increasing the total of infected persons to 638. Now 9 of the cases are imported and 3 are contacts of imported cases. Meanwhile, there are 7 additional persons that have recovered and have been released from isolation in the last 24 hours, taking the total of recoveries to 458. In a follow-up report tonight, George Williams, who has been incarcerated for the last 48 years, was today brought before the court for the first time since being arrested. Now, based upon court documents filed by his lawyer, Mr. Williams, who is being held at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center, has not been convicted of any crime, nor is there any lawful reason for him to be held in a prison. In speaking with our news team earlier today, Mr. Williams' attorney, Isat Buchanan, outlined what happened in the St. Catherine Circuit Court earlier today.
George Williams, who was deemed unfit to plea in 1972, had his day in court today. The learned judge, the Honorable Justice Stephanie Jackson Hazley, ordered that he be brought to court and made several other orders that a week from today he will be brought back to court for determination by the DPP as to what they're doing with his matter. The hope is that he will be released to his family, having done the necessary medical assessment, and is allowed to enjoy his life as a free man.
Mr. Buchanan also described Mr. Williams' reaction while he was in court.
George himself, when he came into the courtroom for the first time in 48 years, had a look of bewilderment on his face. He was in awe because he did say to me that he wasn't sure if he was going to get to go to court. So that was most beautiful to see that happen. The Stand Up for Jamaica certainly had requested that he be given his independent psychiatrist to do an assessment, and the judge also granted that order, and we will see what happens next week because there are several other persons who are also languishing in prison.
Now, a similar situation was recently highlighted regarding Noel Chambers, who died in prison after being incarcerated at the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center for 40 years without being tried, despite being deemed unfit to plea on 2 occasions. Meanwhile, Mr. Buchanan, also the attorney representing the family of Jodian Ferron, gave us an update on the case of the 23-year-old first-time mom, whose death at the University Hospital of the West Indies in April sparked national outrage.
The autopsy report for Jodian Ferron remains outstanding. The family is expressing that they're concerned that the results are not forthcoming. They have heard from third parties certainly that the report is completed, but we have not been able to see it. We have requested it from Dr. Neblett herself, and there was no courtesies afforded to the family, no compassion, no empathy to include the family in knowing the results, especially where the death certificate cannot be obtained until the cause of death is communicated.
In news from St. James, investigators attached to the Major Investigation Division, MID, are investigating the fatal shootings of two men whose bullet-riddled bodies were discovered in a parked motor vehicle along a section of Claude Clark Avenue in Montego Bay earlier today. Now, up to news time, the police had not made a breakthrough into the identity of the men, one of whom is said to be from Old Harbour in St. Catherine and the other from Norwood in St. James. Reports coming into our news center tonight are that shortly after midday, both men were traveling in a Toyota Corolla motor vehicle along Claude Clark Avenue when their path was blocked by armed men traveling in another motor car. The armed men opened fire upon the Corolla, hitting both men multiple times before speeding away from the scene. The police and members of the Jamaica Defense Force, JDF, were called to the location, and following the processing of the scene, the bodies of both men were removed to the morgue for post-mortem examinations. We will bring you more on this story in subsequent newscasts. In news from Manchester, a businessman from the parish who fatally shot an armed robber last night is now in critical condition after being shot and seriously injured by the deceased's accomplices. Police reports are that investigators are probing the incident in Christiana. However, they are unable to give the identity of the slain gunman and the injured business operator at this early stage in the investigation. Reports are that during the course of last night, the businessman, who is a licensed firearm holder, was at his establishment when he was ambushed by the armed men. The businessman challenged the armed men, and during the exchange of gunfire, he managed to kill one of his attackers. However, he received gunshot wounds as well. The police were summoned, and upon their arrival, both men were rushed to the hospital, where the gunman was pronounced dead, and the businessman treated and admitted. In news from the capital, members of the Canine and Narcotic Divisions seized a pound of cocaine at the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston. Reports coming into our news center are that on June 16 at approximately 3:20 p.m., a canine team with sniffer dog Ray was conducting security checks in the cargo area of the airport. During the checks, Ray alerted the officers to a package. It was searched by the lawmen and found to contain the illicit drug. The cocaine has an estimated street value of more than 600,000 Jamaican dollars. Investigations are ongoing. Still making news tonight, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Senator Matthew Samuda, has announced that the Department of Correctional Services, DCS, is moving closer to being self-sufficient in food production.
The fact is, we're clear that we need to improve nutrition for our inmates while reducing long-term costs on the taxpayer. So this is the result of those two objectives coming together as one. At the end of the day, we don't want to turn people out in the same state or worse than they would have entered our facilities. So this will serve to train persons as to the appropriate measures for raising chickens. It will teach them how to properly move it from farming to a business, because they'll learn how to well, not dispose of them, I guess, kill them and properly clean them, etc. for consumption. So this is, I think, is a major step in the right direction, and it's an example that when we come together in the public and the private sector, what can be achieved, because this will go to the benefit of the entire prison system, and we're very happy about it.
A tractor valued at 11 million Jamaican dollars has also been purchased, and Director of Kingston Industrial Agencies Limited, Stephen Henriquez, outlined how it will be of use in assisting with mass crop cultivation.
A lot of confidence that this will be an excellent unit for the prisons to use in cultivation. It is a general cultivation tractor and can use plows, harrows and all sorts of different implements to effect the quality growing and efficient growing of produce of all kinds.
Commissioner of Corrections Lieutenant Colonel Gary Rose says this is a welcome program.
On average, we have about 70 acres that we could certainly put our tractor to good use. level land that we will get into production of sorrel, our pumpkin, our callaloo, and other items. As we farm what we utilize within our inmate population.
Still making news tonight, Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie yesterday called for the suspension of several municipal officers at the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation. This follows the circulation of a video showing the municipal officers using sledgehammers to destroy pushcarts and food items belonging to several vendors in Linstead. The minister says the municipal police are there to facilitate and enforce law and order in the municipality, not to breach the law and undermine their authority in the process. He also offered his personal apologies to the vendors affected and stated that they will be compensated, while also making it clear that the actions of the men do not and will never reflect any policy of the local government administration. Still in St. Catherine, the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation says it will be imposing fines of $250,000 on persons that park heavy-duty vehicles and equipment in residential communities. Now, the announcement was made by Mayor of Spanish Town, Norman Scott, at its recently held monthly meeting, following a resolution passed to give legal support to the corporation's efforts to clear communities of heavy equipment that are damaging roadways and posing security risks to the residents there. The corporation will also be moving to establish truck stops for owners of heavy-duty vehicles where owners can have proper parking for them while at their homes. Still tonight, the National Water Commission, NWC, wishes to advise that the Long Mountain Deep Well facility in St. Andrew will be taken out of service for a period of 8 days to facilitate the extraction and repair of the pumping unit. The work is scheduled to be carried out from tomorrow, June 19, until Saturday, June 27. Customers are being encouraged to store water for use. However, water will be trucked to the affected areas. Areas to be affected are Harbour View, Palisadoes, Port Royal, 7 Miles, Wikiwaki, Airport, Windward Road, Bull Bay, St. Benedict's Heights, Alma Heights, and Shooters Hill. The National Water Commission apologizes for any inconvenience that may be caused by this necessary disruption in service. In other news tonight, as part of the government of Jamaica's controlled entry program, arrangements have been finalized for approximately 300 Jamaicans to arrive on the island. The Jamaicans will arrive at Port Royal via 2 cruise vessels, Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas and the Disney Wonder, within the next 24 hours. Debarkation of both vessels will take place tomorrow, June 20. All persons will be processed using the established protocols for testing, sanitization, and quarantine that have been used on all previous ship arrivals, including mandatory state quarantine until test results are available. And those were some of the stories making news. I'll return with other updates as MICAF has developed a national 5-year manufacturing growth strategy for Jamaica, aimed at achieving $81 billion per annum in manufacturing output by 2025. And the government aims at integrating agricultural sector into agro-processing. We'll now take a break and then join Christopher Scott with sports.
Jamaica Weekly, the voice of Jamaica, is Jamaica's newest and most exciting full-color tabloid newspaper, packed with news, sports, entertainment, and a whole lot more. Jamaica Weekly is free and is distributed every Thursday to businesses and consumers island-wide. Pick up your free copy of Jamaica Weekly today at major retail outlets near you, supermarkets, pharmacies, and service stations. For more information, call 876-616-3031. Jamaica Weekly. Pick up your free copy today.